everybody, to another episode of the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast, the TPT Podcast.
Welcome in, guys, to another episode of the TPT Podcast. We've been away for a while, but now that we're getting closer and closer to the regular season, you guys are going to see us on Tuesdays and Fridays. I know I've been away for a while, had some medical things going on, gotten those taken care of. So I'm glad to be back, being able to talk and being able to talk some Chiefs football with you guys. As with me always is my man, Zach. Zach, what's happening? How you been?
Not much, man. I just got back from Mexico a few days ago, and I started a new role at work. So life's been kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? But
wow, Mexico. What did you came back in one piece? Did you eat anything crazy when you're down there?
nah. But on the street market, this small lady came up to me and tried to sell me empanadas, and it was probably the weirdest experience of my
Really?
life.
Did you eat it?
No, I didn't buy any, but I don't. There's a language barrier, so she was like empanadas, and she was like smacking me on the hip because she was probably like 3 feet tall. And at first when she tapped me, I'm looking around like, yo, what's up? And then I look down and she's staring at me. She's like, empanadas. And I'm like, yo, I'm good. It was very weird.
Yeah, those are. I mean, it would have been hard for me not to been like, "Yay, I'll do two for $1," because I love them. My mom makes them all the time. But she makes them the Colombian way, so that's the way you got to eat them. But I love them. Another thing I love is we're starting to get that feel for Chiefs football again. I always get it after July 4th. I'll see a little video. I'll see this. I was still kind of caught up in the NBA season, still caught up in the Royals season, and then I kind of see a video of us winning the Super Bowl. I'll see something like that, and I'm like, oh, I think I need to bring out a hat, or I think I need to bring out a T-shirt or something like that. So now I'm starting to get to the hunger for Chiefs football again. And I don't know if it's you, and I was going to ask you this question before we get into what we're going to talk about. Is it like, does it feel each year we win the Super Bowl, it's like that hunger for the regular season? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, starts to fade a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, last year changed everything the way I look at the regular season. And so did 3 years ago when we lost to the Bengals, but we started off so terribly and still ended up being the second or third best team in the league.
Right.
Last year, especially, I mean, we were terrible up until the new year, and then we won the Super Bowl. So I really do not care. But the regular season is great, stress-free football. Let's get some awards. Travis Kelce getting All-Pro, maybe Mahomes an MVP. So I love the regular season.
Yeah,
even though it still doesn't.
We're gonna get into some award predictions at the later part of the show. But yeah, it's a weird feeling. I think you just mentioned it. It's that after that losing to the Bengals, I think in like March, I was like, season start now. We gotta get them back. We gotta win it. We were right there. I think that's what it is. And I'm not saying the Chiefs need to lose this season for me to have that hunger back. Because I want them to three-peat. And we're going to see who in camp can help us do that right now. We're going to talk about who in the training camp are some guys that we think may not be on the radar, but are going to be some big factors or some factors into the regular season. Then, like you said, we're going to get into some early prediction awards for the Chiefs, and maybe they win some NFL awards. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about here at the TPT Podcast. The first thing I want to talk about, Zach, is some of this stadium talk I wanted to get with you before we get into the training camp. Is you have the Jaguars, they're building a new stadium. Everybody wants a new stadium. And the Chiefs are going to be doing some renovations to theirs. But are the Chiefs going to get a brand new stadium? Are they going to tear down Arrowhead when they move Kauffman to downtown and build a brand new stadium? Or are they just going to add to Arrowhead?
I don't know. Ask Mayor Quentin Lucas, ask the Hunt family, ask Frank White, ask the politicians in Johnson County, Kansas. Really, I am just looking forward to us staying here. I'm glad that the Chiefs have no chance of moving. And I was super against us moving to Kansas because, Missouri and Kansas have a little thing where it's just like a little petty rivalry. It's not like we
Right.
don't really care. I go to Kansas for all my doctor's appointments and I go to Kansas to shop occasionally. But it's just like a little petty thing. Oh, you live in KCK or you live in Johnson County. And so I would rather them stay here. But as long as we keep our Chiefs, which we will, I'm happy. And the new stadium, whatever it is, it's gonna be cool because every stadium that comes out now is sick. So
Right. Yeah, and I've seen some renovations and I've seen some ideas kind of put it just like a dome over Arrowhead. I would prefer that because it's like all these new stadiums are cool. They are cool. They all look cool. But like when I look at the Rams stadium, that doesn't look, or the Rams and the Chargers, but it doesn't have that team theme feel. And some of these newer stadiums that are coming up, even the Falcons, yes, that we know that's the Falcon Stadium, but it doesn't have the team feel. It doesn't have the theme feel. When you look at Arrowhead, when you look at Green Bay, when you look at some of these older stadiums, it's like it has that theme to it. It looks like the Chief Stadium. You're like, okay, that's the Chief Stadium. I just don't want it to get to this modern looking stadium where it's like, okay, that does not look like the Chief Stadium. It just looks like a stadium in Missouri that happens to host the NFL team.
yeah, and another thing about it is the fact that like Arrowhead with a dome, that is probably the worst case scenario for me. That would be terrible because the coolest thing about Arrowhead, other than how loud it is that we are one of the few teams left that just have like crazy weather. Like
Right.
up in Green Bay, in Chicago, in Buffalo, they're still in Baltimore, but most teams are going to a dome nowadays. And if they don't have a dome, they have a retractable roof where they can control the weather. In Kansas City, that's one of the biggest advantages we have because even though we're a crazy passing offense, our quarterback plays better when it's cold.
Right.
So that would be worst case scenario. I would rather get a new stadium than just plop a dome on top of Arrowhead, honestly.
Right. Yeah, and we saw this in the playoffs. Is you're not really seeing those teams that have the crazy cold weather, uh, especially last year, not host a game in their own stadium. But the Chiefs did. They had to play back-to-back weeks in some pretty dang cold weather in Buffalo and in Kansas City. And so now you're kind of seeing Kansas City be one of those teams that is like fitting that Green Bay, Buffalo category where it's like, oh, you got to go play in Kansas City. It's really cold weather. Um, and obviously, you saw it kind of work in the Chiefs' advantage playing against a team like the Dolphins, because just how cold it gets in Kansas City and how they always say how just stone rock hard the field gets in Kansas City. But let's move on to some guys that are going to be playing on the field in Kansas City. And we got training camp coming up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. It's starting pretty.
Jaden, it's ridiculous how fast the offseason moved this year. We are
Right.
less than 2 months away from a regular season game.
Game.
We
Yeah.
play the Ravens on September 5th. It's July 9th. Like,
Right. And that's what's crazy is this is the last month without an NFL football game because
it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
you have the Hall of Fame game, preseason games from there, and then you have 1 week of a bye week for NFL, and then you have straight into NFL.
Yeah.
So you have 3 weeks now of no NFL football. That's it. If you can get through 3 more weeks of no NFL football, you have the rest of July, which I think is three, maybe 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you have 1 week of the week before the regular season that they take off. So you have 3 weeks essentially. I don't know how many days, but 3 weeks of no NFL football. So I'm excited that Chiefs football is right there, and we're going to see some guys taking the field. You're really going to see some more news on guys taking the field. Who are you excited for in camp? You're like, I'm just excited to hear things about this guy. This is when I open my phone, I look at the Chiefs report. This is the guy I'm excited for. And who should Chiefs fans be excited for? Two-part question.
I'm super excited for Wiley, the tight end, because that is a position that we use a lot. And as good as Travis Kelce is, and he showed in the playoffs that he's still easily the best tight end in the league. I mean, he put up over 300 yards in the playoffs. He's 35, 34, 35. He's
34.
old, and Father Time is undefeated unless your name is LeBron James. And so he probably has two, three. I don't know. Travis Kelce, hey, he defies the odds all the time, but this guy can have a serious role because even if Kelce remains the same skill level, it's going to be more like last year where he's not playing as much. If he gets banged up a little bit, he'll probably sit out like he missed 2 games last year. And Noah Gray, I love Noah Gray, but he is a very safe possession type tight end. He's not the Kelce replacement. He's not, because he doesn't have any upside. He has been a great pick, especially for, I believe, a 5th-round pick out of Duke. He's been a great pick, and he's been instrumental to 2 of our playoff runs. But Wiley has a much higher ceiling, and he has the skills and the archetype to fill what Kelce has.
Yeah, I like you said, I like Noah Gray. I think he's that guy. He's that sneaky guy who's made big plays. He's good on if you need a sneak play, if you need a gadget play, he's your type of guy. And I think he's a guy that can be in Kansas City, as someone who's been on the podcast a while, is like Jason Dunn. Be a guy where it's like, be Mr. Reliable, be that 3rd to 2nd tight end, where it's like, if you need a good block, if you just need to be the dirty guy, you need to be that 3rd down guy, catch a pass here and there. But Wiley, you almost read my mind, because Wiley is the number 1 guy just in the rookies in general. I'm just excited to see, because looking at some of his highlights, looking at some of the game film from Kansas State, I'm like, oh, this guy's good. Oh, this guy's good. And he's not small. Like, you're not like, oh, okay,
he's huge. He's he, 6'6"?
6'6". I think listed at 6'7".
Oh my.
Check. So there's no 6'7", 270, something like this. So he's a solid guy. He's about 2 inches taller than Kelce, and maybe about 10 pounds, 15 pounds heavier. He's a solid guy, and he can block as well, but he is a very he runs like a receiver. He's a very, very good pass catcher. So he's the number 1 guy where it's I know in the past we've kind of had this oh, this could be the Kelce replacement, but it's no, I truly believe this guy, if he gets with Kelce, he can be the Kelce replacement.
Yeah, and by replacement, we don't mean Kelce production. We just mean starting tight end, which is fine because most teams don't have a Kelce, and I know Mahomes can win without a all-world tight end, and so that's fine. But he definitely has starter potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No one's gonna ever be the greatest postseason pass catcher of all time and the greatest tight end of all time, and just week after week just kill guys for the last 9 to 10 years. But I think he's a guy where when we're in a replacement, you're not going to sit there and go, holy crap, we've missed a good tight end. Where he's a guy that can fill in for Kelce and be that guy with Mahomes, because again, if you just get around Mahomes, you're able to just get to a certain level. Mahomes will get you there. Mahomes is good enough, he'll get you there. We've seen guys like MBS and just guys or Justin Watson and McCole Hardman be huge factors in Super Bowls and playoff games. Mahomes just go to this spot, I'll get you there. And I think Wiley's definitely good enough where he's I'll do that, but I'll do that times 5. So he's a guy I'm intrigued to see. Is there any guys on the defensive end where you're like, Chiefs fans, this is a guy I'm telling you need to look out for?
I'm super excited to watch Nazeeh Johnson again, because last year he was having a crazy camp, and then he had a torn ACL, and that's just devastating. Especially, was he a 1st or 2nd year player? He was very, very young, probably 22, 23 years old. And now we have a hole. I mean, you can say that you think Joshua Williams or Jalen Watson can fill Snead's role as the starting outside corner, but we do not know that for sure. They've always matched up against the lesser receiver on the field, and they've split reps with each other a lot. So we're going to really have to find another outside guy. And I am curious whether we're going to move Trent McDuffie to the outside, because he's the best slot guy in the league, him and Jalen Johnson. But, I mean, outside guys, if Snead's gone and Trent's not going outside, we have Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, and Nazeeh Johnson. And I don't know if that's ideal. And so I really think he has a huge opportunity if he shows out in camp again, because if he is really as good as he looked in camp, he's probably better than Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing that I was just talking about earlier with some other Chiefs fans. It's like, do you move, McDuffie outside, or do you use a bigger corner? I'm pretty sure Watson's listed at 6'2",
Yeah.
6'3". So he's a bigger corner. So do you put him against he's a little slower, but do you put him against the guys like Jamar Chase, the guys like Garrett Wilson, some of the bigger receivers, seen the CeeDee Lambs of the world. Those guys where we've seen the bigger receivers. We did see him have that 99-yard pick six 2 years ago. So he looked pretty fast on that play. But I think he may be your guy. And I am intrigued to see some of the rookies that came in. I know we picked up a rookie from Minnesota. He's leaving me. Jaden. The rookie receiver. His last name is leaving me at the moment, but I'm intrigued to see a lot of the rookie secondary that came in that's coming in for the Chiefs, because the biggest question mark about the Chiefs, of course, is going to be, can they replace L'Jarius Sneed? I think they'll be fine. They were, the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL. Even if we go to number 3 or 4, maybe 5, what this offense is going to be this year, and we're going to continue to talk about that on later episodes. But what this offense is going to be, they don't have to solely rely on defense to win games. Now we can type of air it out a little bit. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to see again another tight end in the system. Can they start running 13 personnel, 12 personnel? I'm also excited to see what are we going to do at running back 2. I know we got Louis Zamet. Is he going to be running back 2? Is he just going to be mostly used for kick returns with the new kickoff rules? But is there any running backs you see that we've either picked up or that are on the roster right now where you're like, okay, these guys need to step up as running back 2 because, it's a long season. You may lose Pacheco for a game or 2. Who are you, even if there's a guy out there, you're like, hey, we need to go pick up this veteran for running back 2.
Running back is probably the position on the team I'm most underwhelmed with going into training camp, because if you look at all 3 of our Super Bowl runs, first year we had Damian Williams, who went insane in the playoffs. He had like 4 or 5 touchdowns in the playoffs. Like he went to the all-time postseason touchdown leaderboard in 1 year, basically.
Right.
Then the last 2 years we've had the 3-headed not really 3-headed monster, more like 1.5-headed monster with McKinnon, Pacheco, and Clyde. But Clyde is a perfect backup if either of them go down. And now this year we're going in with just Pacheco and Clyde. And that third spot is a toss-up. I don't know if I doubt it's going to be Reese Zamet because he's just getting into football. And there's no inspiring free agents out there that I'm like, oh, this would fix our problems. They're all washed, basically.
Right.
And so I'm not looking forward to the running back thing unless someone like a Deneric Prince or one of the undrafted free agent guys we got turns out to be like a backup level player. But I mean, there's really nowhere else to go here. We're stuck with this, and hopefully someone pans out.
Yeah, again, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if Louis Zamet, necessarily just. I think he'll be on the practice squad because he doesn't take up a practice squad spot. And I know that out of OTAs and stuff, they really like him on special teams. They do. So he's a perfect special teams player. He's insanely fast. He knows how to move when he has the ball. But there's obviously blocking assignments. There's different things you have to do as a running back in this system. I don't know how well he's been catching the ball. I know he's a taller type back at 6'2". He's a little lighter, 190. But he's still, again, we got to see how he does in preseason. He's a player I'm really intrigued to see in preseason how he's going to be, because again, they're looking for someone to step up in that running back 2 role. Maybe Clyde hits another role. I still think Clyde, the Chiefs maybe use him more in the passing game. I think that's his role. I know the Chiefs have never really just done that, used him in the passing role, but that's where I want to see Clyde Edwards in the passing role. And like you said, maybe Deneric Prince or, someone emerges in camp. But yeah, this is the number one thing I'm looking at in camp is what is our running backs going to do? Because I know we got the receivers now, the tight end, like we just mentioned. And so that's the thing I'm looking at. Speaking of kind of getting into the receivers, another player is a lot of reports are coming out that there may not be a suspension for Rashee Rice at least this season. What do you think about that? Is there possibilities that Rashee Rice doesn't get suspended this season? We saw it with Willie Gay a couple of seasons where they thought he was going to get suspended. He didn't get it, ended up getting suspended until a year after.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to get suspended this year because that's nowadays in the NFL, that's the protocol with especially criminal investigations. Now, like with weed and stuff, they would just be like, okay, you're suspended this amount of games, or with cheating. But with actual criminal investigations where there are other parties doing investigations as well, and normally like Alvin Kamara should have been suspended 2 years ago. He didn't get his 6 games until last year. And so I was kind of expecting that for Rice. And I lucked out because I did draft him on an underdog draft. And so I might have my guy all 16 games and I got him under ADP. So that's beautiful. But I mean, for the Chiefs, that's obviously awesome. Gives us an extra year to prepare for the loss that we will have with Rice underneath. I mean, obviously this year, if he got suspended this year, our offense would look crazy in those weeks he was out with just like straight deep threats and then Kelsey. It would look insane. But next year, I'm sure we'll get a more underneath guy to carry some of the weight while he's out. And I mean, good for the three-peat. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather get a championship this year than next.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is, obviously for Rashee Rice, if, we saw the situation that happens offseason, there should be some disciplinary action for Rashee Rice for what he's done. He obviously said, what I did was wrong. There should be something coming. Rashee Rice say, absolutely. I'm not, saying, oh, goody, because we have a player who's able to play. No matter if he's on the Chiefs or not on the Chiefs, obviously have disciplinary action. But we're looking at a perspective if he does not receive his discipline for what transpired this offseason, obviously that will benefit the Chiefs. And looking at this receiving core, I mean, people are saying, oh, look at the Chiefs' first couple of games. How are they going to get through the first couple of games? With the receiving core Mahomes just went through and the receiving core he's got now, when's the last time he was able to just sit back there and be him? Let's remember, Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, he has not been able to do the type of style offense that he's won. He's had to turn in to dink and dunk quarterback, and he's won like that. And it's great. We got 2 Super Bowls these past 2 years like that. But he has not been able to be Mahomes since Tyreek Hill has left. He's not been able to sit there and be like, oh, I'm just going to have this guy go route. Go. I'll find you. And now he's got 3 to 4 guys that can do that. 3 guys that can absolutely burn it, and maybe more now. So that's the biggest thing is you have Mahomes who's able to play at the style he wants to play and not sit there and say, oh, okay, I'll throw a little 6-yard route. So now they can't say, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to sit in here in a box. We're just going to sit in here. Oh, no. Now you got to play deep. Oh, you want to start playing deep again? I'm just going to throw it here to Kelsey. I'm just going to throw it here to Wiley. That's why I think this year when people say, oh, no way the Chiefs can three-peat. This year, I think, can be the most dangerous year for the Kansas City Chiefs.
100%. If our defense is able to play at a top 10 level, top 8 level, we're winning the Super Bowl 100%. And the loss of Snead could be a huge thing, but it also could not be a huge thing. We don't know because we don't know how much is Spags. And obviously, Snead played out of his mind last year, but we do not know that just because we lost one guy that Spags, who finally has all of his guys, can't just replicate last year. Right. We are on the fast track to history. We are on the fast track.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is you saw Spags who's able to create 60 sacks, and they've had this second most sacks in the last 2 years. So we got to think about that too, is the guys up front who have made plays. And obviously Snead he had a Darrelle Revis type year, but let's remember we still have an all-pro corner.
Yeah.
So lose an all-pro corner.
I'll take McDuffie over Snead. I'll say that. And I love and Snead's amazing. He played one of the best coordinators I've ever seen last year, but I'll take McDuffie over Snead in the future.
Right. Yep. Again, younger, and he's played absolutely. Let's not forget the first time, his first game in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform, because he was hurt the first couple of weeks as a rookie. He won up against Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase had 24 yards that game. So he played Jamar Chase very well, and he's obviously played guys phenomenal. Let's not forget, during the postseason, during the Super Bowl, he was the biggest factor. There were some people who said, hey, he maybe should have got Super Bowl MVP. He was one of the biggest factors.
He put Debo in a strap, literally. Yep. Like, Debo had nowhere to go on any. The only play that Debo was actually open, it wasn't Trent guarding him. It was when Brock Purdy overthrew him in the end zone. Every other play, it was incredible.
And he would still had to make a play on that. And that's what I'm saying. I'm excited for just training camp and what the preseason have to offer for some of these guys. We'll see what corners emerge. Speaking of just talent, we're going to go through defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, MVP, offensive player of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then obviously defensive player of the year. So real quick, let's go through the awards for the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you want to double down and say, hey, this guy is going to get MVP plus MVP of the league, you can do that. But let's go through each one. Who do you have getting defensive rookie of the year?
For the Chiefs, it's Hicks, the safety.
Hicks.
Because,
Jaden, that's what
yes,
I'm sorry.
I mean, he was our highest drafted defensive player. Spags loves having a safety room that moves in and out. We're gonna have all types of guys playing, and we don't really know where he's gonna play. Is he gonna play in the box? He's gonna play up top? Is he gonna play slot corner? We don't know because we had that many questions. I mean, we know we have a good secondary. We just don't really know like how it's gonna work because of the loss of Snead. And so he's gonna be. I'm very confident in his ability because he's a very good value pick in the third round, and he's a very talented player.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. That was, I'm sorry, point of reference earlier. I like that. I like that because you got to remember Brian Cook. He may not play the first couple of weeks because he had a late season-ending injury, so he may not play right away. So they may have to be looking around at safety who's going to kind of play that role with some of our other starting safeties. So I like that pick at defensive rookie of the year. Who do you have of offensive rookie of the year?
Now I'm going with Kingsley, the left tackle. I mean, I'm saying that because if he becomes our left tackle for the year, he automatically, unless Worthy pops off or Wiley pops off, if you're starting left tackle for a team like the Chiefs, I mean, that's serious, And Worthy with Hollywood being very similar to him and Rice probably not getting suspended, I just don't really see how Worthy gets a load that's big enough to merit winning rookie of the year over a guy that starts at left tackle. And so I'm gonna just say because I expect him to beat out Wanye. Wanye was decent in games that he played. I saw him get beat a lot off the line by like speed moves, and that's one thing we don't want after seeing the year with Orlando Brown. And so with Kingsley being a little more athletic than Wanye, I'm gonna assume he gets the starting job, and then that's my rookie of the year.
Yeah. I like it because that's going to be a position where, again, like you said, if he does start on a team that's most likely going to be making a deep playoff run, you're going to be up there. It's really hard. I know a lot of people may be thinking, watching this, Worthy or, come on, you got to go Worthy or Wiley. You got to go. It's hard to come in with all the offensive weapons they already have and just put up like 900 yards, 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. I know he's a barn burner, and that may just be his role. Worthy this season is you're going to get 2 catches a game for 60 yards, and one of those were for 40 yards. Like you're going to just be that long pass that sets us up into the end zone or whatever it may be. I think that's kind of going to be his role, and that's what Chiefs fans have missed the last 2 years of literally a guy who can. It's like even if he has 1 catch a game for 50 yards, that was a 50-yard pass to him. But who do you have as your offensive player of the year? I know we have offensive, and then we'll do MVP as well. But who do you have offensive player of the year for the Chiefs?
Okay, I'm gonna do both. Patrick Mahomes for both. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he has weapons that he hasn't had in 3 years now. And then that last year with Tyreek was kind of rocky in some ways. Tyreek was like, I want the ball. And it's like, there's a lot of like feeding Tyreek just because he wasn't getting fed, even though he was getting fed. You know what I'm saying? And so this is a very balanced attack with Kelsey regressing a little bit, and Rice developing and Hollywood Brown joining, and he's already an established receiver, and Xavier Worthy joining and Jared Wiley joining. It's about to be a beautiful sight to see. And so the guy that benefits from all this is Mahomes. He benefits from every single one of them. And the best quarterback in the league is going to have another MVP season. I do not see a quarterback other than maybe a CJ Stroud that is in a position right now with his skill his age, and the surrounding pieces around him to put up a historic season. For me, it's Mahomes and CJ Stroud. So
Yeah, I think I'm almost, because we got to remember Mahomes had 48 touchdowns and 5,000 yards 2 years ago, and his best receiver was Juju Smith-Schuster.
yep. And Hollywood is just Juju, but a completely different archetype. It's the same exact thing. We're gonna sign you to a 1-year deal. You're gonna probably leave and get a decent contract somewhere else. But this time, instead of the underneath, this time it's the home run, and it's gonna
Yep.
And they got chemistry.
I agree. I don't want to. We're going to do bold predictions on Friday, but Mahomes, I'm going to have some bold predictions for Mr. Patrick Mahomes. I agree. MVP, absolutely. Patrick Mahomes. I know people may say, "Oh, that's boring." Come on, guys. Mahomes, of course. But I mean, again, we talked about the receiving core, the deepness. I know we talked about that last year and ended up not coming to fruition. But this year, the true deepness of his wide receiver core, I like to pick at MVP. Lastly, who do you have as your defensive player of the year?
Trent McDuffie. I've watched corner film. Corner's one of the few positions that I can actually watch not hours. I can watch a lot of film at corner because it's so interesting to really know what's happening. Because what you see in the media on ESPN and FS1 is not really what's happening at corner. They will lie to you, and they will say Jalen Ramsey's still the best in the league because of his name, when there's plenty of other, and he's still a very good corner, but there's a few other corners that outperform him now that don't get the credit because corner's not a position where you pop off the screen. It's just like you don't even notice if you're good. And Trent McDuffie is the best coverage corner in the league, and he's the best blitzing corner, and he's one of the best. He's one of the most consistent tacklers, forced fumbles. He is ridiculous at football. And Chris Jones getting that huge contract and now being 29 or 30 years old, I just expect him to, even though he's been our most valuable defensive player, bar none, other than maybe last year, for the last 6 years probably. I'm saying Trent because he is going to unlock another level, and it's going to be a beautiful sight.
Yeah, I like Trent McDuffie. I would have probably went George Karlaftis. He's been working a lot with Tama Ali, which I love. I love that he's been working a lot with him this offseason. Every time I go on social media on Tom Ali's Instagram, or I go on George's, and they're both posting, how he's been working out with him, how much it's helped him. And he had 10 sacks last year. He's tied for the team total. And I think big things for George, Furious George. But I like Trent McDuffie. I think Trent McDuffie is going to absolutely pop off the pages here because, again, Steve Spagnuolo, what he's been able to, when you give a coach the players he's been wanting, the players he's been looking for, and now he's got those guys, it's so much easier to coach. So I like the Trent McDuffie pick. There we have it. We had who did you have? Who are your awards? All your awards.
I had Kingsley, Jaden Hicks, Trent, and Patrick.
All right, I love it.
Yeah, there we
go. Comment down below what you guys think the Chiefs awards are going to go to. Let me know if you guys think that any one of these guys can maybe win an award or make an All-Pro, Pro Bowl. What you guys think. We'll be back on Friday with some more bold predictions, some more Chiefs talk. We're going to be back into the normal schedule of Tuesday and Friday, guys. Zach, any last thing you want to say on the TPT podcast?
I just want to reiterate how fast this offseason is going real quick. Y'all, we are like a month away from, or preseason's in less than a month, less than a month, I believe. Like the Hall of Fame game in regular season is 2 months. It seems like the draft just happened.
Right.
It was 3 months ago now, the draft. Ridiculous.
Gotta love it, guys. After the 4th of July, it just goes like that. So we'll be in Chiefs football very, very soon. But until Friday, guys, I'll see you next time on the TPT podcast.